Arizona Senator Hinson still has not said whether or not she supports the $740 billion reconciliation bill. Axios reporting the $369 billion climate and energy part of the bill is not enough. And on taxes, she has issues with the structure of the 15% corporate minimum tax and whether that could get passed down to the employees. A lot to break down there, a lot hinging on that, as Republicans have noted there will be no Republicans on board with this, that according to Mitch McConnell there, the minority leader. For reaction, we welcome in Republican Congresswoman from Iowa, Ashley Hinson. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Good morning, Sean. Good to be with you.
Absolutely. You are on the Budget Committee and Appropriations Committee. What's your take on this bill, the Inflation Reduction Act? The name of it, if you will, you could start with that, but also the breakdown of really what's inside of it and the promise that it will not raise taxes on those making $400,000 or more. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, well, Iowans can see right through President Biden and Speaker Pelosi's lies about this bill. The title is completely misleading. It does not reduce inflation. In fact, through 2024, it will actually drive it upwards. I think we all learned our lesson when the Democrats last year were touting their $1.9 trillion spending bill, saying it was going to help the American economy, when instead Republicans were raising alarms that it would contribute to inflation. And that's exactly what we've seen. So raising taxes and spending more money during a recession is not a good idea. In fact, it just places more of a burden on Iowa working families and American working families. And that's exactly what this bill does. It targets them. It supercharges the IRS. It targets our manufacturers and our small businesses with higher taxes. I don't know what kind of rock the White House is living under or Speaker Pelosi's living under, but I can tell you the stories that I hear from my constituents, and inflation is hurting them. That pinch at the pump, the pinch at the grocery store, they feel it every single day, and that's why they're going to come out and turn out in record numbers and vote for Republicans in November.
Yeah, just the overall inflation at 41-year high, 9.1%. Gas is still at $4.14 on average, according to AAA. Again, that being touted as a win from this White House because they're coming down from $5 where they were. Again, that's just the average. Some hit $7. But again, talk to me about the disparity between Republicans and Democrats in terms of messaging on this bill. If you talk to Democrats about the Inflation Reduction Act, they say, hey, this is going to lower taxes, it's not going to do anything, or it's going to lower the deficit. If you look at that analysis report that was put out, it says the opposite. It says that anyone paying or anyone that makes below $200,000 a year in 2023, that's where some of this money is actually going to come from. It's going to come from the middle class. But why is there such a disparity between the understanding of what this bill will actually do?
Well, I think if there's anything the American people have learned in the last year and a half with this triple threat of Democrat leadership, it's that they can't trust anything the Democrats say. They say this is going to come in and revive our economy. It does the exact opposite. It tanks our economy. That's exactly what we've seen with the trillions and trillions of dollars in spending that they have proposed. You mentioned student loan debt earlier. You know, that's a proposal that they're talking about wiping away that debt. Well, we all know debt cannot be wiped away. It can only be transferred to someone else to pay for it. And that someone else is the taxpayers. That someone else is the people who didn't go to college, who maybe saved and went to an apprenticeship program instead and went right into the workforce. Why should someone who's an apprentice, electrician, a plumber, pay for someone else's fancy degree? It makes no sense. And again, This administration could be not more out of touch with the American working family.
I'll go to that, the student loan cancellation. I know you were mentioning that Forbes reporting that the Biden administration is ready to implement mass student loan forgiveness with a decision coming any day now. Again, this has been back and forth of it's complete forgiveness, if it's just $10,000, if it's for this amount of income or less. You wrote a column in the Washington Times titled "Student Loan Cancellation is a Slap in the Face to Working Class Families." Biden hasn't decided on it, but if he does, what did you mean in your article here, and what would that mean for the working class?
Yeah. Well, plain and simple, this inflation tax is a tax on every single working family, and you add student loan debt forgiveness on top of that. All that does, again, is transfer that cost to other people who right now are spending almost all of their available income just to be able to put food on the table and put gas in their car. We encountered a woman who hadn't filled up her gas tank fully. She was on her way to the free health clinic. She hadn't filled up her tank fully in over a year, and she was crying at the pump. I mean, this is a situation that is facing our families here in Iowa, and rural America gets hit even tougher, right? We have further to drive to get to our gas and our groceries. We have further to drive to get to our childcare and our work. So that is a huge challenge and a huge burden for our families. So you talk about this, it seems like they're just pandering, and it reeks of desperation in my mind when President Biden is trying to, again, only transfer this debt. Taxpayers will end up paying for it, plain and simple.
Taxpayers, voters, talking about a different topic if we can, and we'll move to abortion. White House Press Secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre was asked about the President's executive order yesterday that he went on to sign, made a statement on camera. Let me play this for you. She went on to say this from the White House.
There has been an urgency from this president from day one when the Supreme Court made this extreme decision to take away a constitutional right. It was an unconstitutional action by them.
The Supreme Court has taken an unconstitutional action. Again, that from the White House. Your thoughts?
They need a lesson in how government works, apparently, and we need to respect the Supreme Court as a separate and equal branch of government. And they did return that right to the states, right? The states are the closest to the people, and that was exactly what our founding fathers intended when they set up the Constitution. I'm pro-life, and I'll continue to work on advancing pro-life policies in Congress. That means helping support working families, helping support families who have experienced stillbirths, and making sure we're fighting to protect the unborn at the same time. But when I look at what the messages coming out from the White House, again, these are all issues that the American people are not talking about around their kitchen tables right now. They are talking about inflation. They're not talking about abortion. And so I'm going to do what my constituents sent me to Washington to do, which is to fight for taxpayers, stand up for rural America and make sure that has a strong voice, and then safety and security for our country, which is the other issue, the top issue I hear most from my constituents about.
I did want to wrap up, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity to comment on the death of Indiana Congresswoman Jackie Walorski, died in a deadly crash here along with two of her aides. Flags will be flown at half-staff today. Just your thoughts this morning on that.
Yeah, and Jackie was a dear friend of mine as a freshman woman coming into Congress. She was a great shoulder to lean on, a great shoulder to cry on sometimes, a great friend to me and so many other members in our conference, and she will be very missed. Her presence was felt every single day in the halls of the Capitol, and she just was a dear friend, and my thoughts are with her family right now.
Absolutely. Grieving family. Very sad, so we continue to follow that. Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson joining us live on the program. Congresswoman, good to see you. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Sean.